Hi friends, good morning. Today we are going to discuss written communication, meaning of written communication, what are the forms of written communication, importance or advantages of written communication, and limitation of written communication. It's very simple, it's very familiar with, it's very related to our routine or regular life. So all of you, I am sure about that. All of you can understand. It's very easiest manner. Okay, let us start with our video. What is meant by written communication? We know that written communication is a communication through letters, circulars, manuals, reports, or office memos, bulletins, etc. etc. It's a formal method of communication and it is less flexible only because of once we have communicated a message through written formality, there is no way to change what we are written in paper or in black and white. So it is less flexible. A written document become a permanent record for future references. Very good advantages of this written communication. There are efficient this written communication are mainly used by professionals who excel at written communication, understand how to use language or giving their message across. There are a variety of types of written communication, including writing letters, memos, projects, plans, policies and procedures, articles for general audience, and so on. Marketing magazines, etc., are the examples of these written communication. A plain writing style is easy to understand and reduces the chances of misunderstanding and what we say that ambiguity or misleading informations, etc. Writing when we are writing something in paper or in black and white, it's very clear, everyone can refer in future and can understand what we are intended to communicate with others. There is no way to misunderstand. When it is clear, it is clear. Then n number of written communications we have. First one, a number of examples we have in written communication. Email is a examples of written communication, and in internet and websites, and letters, prospects, proposals, telegrams, fax, postcards is a very traditional method of written communications. And contracts, we know that contract in between two persons, an agreement, all these are an examples of this written communication. We know that the importance of written communication. There are a number of written communications we are discussed here. Now we move to the forms of written communications. First one, that is letters. We know what is meant by letters. This is mostly or widely used or commonly used method of communication. They are used mostly for external communications or formal communications. It has a complex layout which has to be carefully followed, as each part of the layout has a purpose and it is needed for further reference. We know that while we are writing something as a formal or as a letter, for example, suppose we are using a leave letter, it has its own format. To address is there, from address is there, subject matter is there, and end matter is there, place, date, everything has its own place and order, everything. It's a very serious method of communication. Then another one, that is memos. Memos is a short method or short form of memorandum. It's usually of an informal message between members of an organization, and it is generally related to daily work. Memos are issued by top authorities to communicate matters with subordinates or lower level workers. Instructions can be conveyed through these memos. For example, a message want to communicate with the teachers, a memo can be issued by principal. So it's an example. Memo forms are usually small and used for brief messages. Tomorrow will be holiday. It's a message. It can be communicated through memos or circulars. Then another important thing that is written communication is notice. Memos are differ from notice. How it is differ? Notice is used when people in the organizations have to be given the same information. It is the most common method of mass communication within an organization. Suppose we are using uh, exam notifications through notice. The same message can be communicated through the mass audience. In such a cases, we are used notices. Whereas some important messages, it's particularly intended or targeted teachers. Memos are issued. Whereas the entire communication can be possible through notices. So there is a difference between a notice is particular, a memo is particular, and notice is general. Notice is a short, the language is very simple, and the type is large and well spaced for easy reading. A notice is put up on the notice board. We know a number of notice boards are shown in our colleges for communicating common messages to teacher community, students community, and other beneficiaries or stakeholders of our colleges. This is an example of notice. Notice are mainly notices are shown on notice boards. Public places are used for showing these notice boards. The next one, circulars, is slightly differ from these aforesaid memos and notices. A circulars is a detailed document giving informations or instructions or orders or a specific matter. We are commonly saying that circular has issued by the government regarding so and so issues. Circulars are issued. Um, we have an example that so while government implementing lockdowns, many circulars has issued by the government to inform the public regarding the lockdown and the measures taken by the government, precautions taken by the government. All these are communicated not through newspapers or notices or memos. It's through circulars. So circular is a detailed document giving informations. Instructions are orders or rules are communicated through these kind of circulars. It's generally issued by the government department and other official bodies like councils, universities, and head offices of the organizations, etc. Then another important written communication is a report. We know the reports of some projects or activities or programs, whatever means. A report is a written communications which is widely used for communicating with others. It's a document prepared by an individual or an organization or a committee with the task of collecting information on a given subject. uh, Report is a result or a end result of an activity done by a committee or a group of people. It required a careful research, a collection of data, and a presentation of the findings, analysis, conclusions, recommendations, etc. Reports are varying length and maybe anything from 2 pages or 10 pages or n number of pages. It may be bulky. Various committee reports are presented by the government or other top authorities regarding the research or findings of their committee works. Then the last important one, that is minutes. We know minutes is a very important document which is prepared by committee while they are discussing an agenda. Minutes are written record of a decision taken at a meeting. Different bodies have their own conventions of recording the discussions and the decisions. Mainly, minutes are maybe written by hand or typed. Both we are used. Typed and filed in a minute file. Minutes are a legal. It's a legal document. It can be used as a legal tender in front of a court or any other legal bodies. Then these are all the important forms of written communications, as we know. Then then we move to the how to improve writing competency, or common mistakes that can be avoided to improve our writing competency. The general mistakes or errors which are committed by people while using written communication are confusing languages, verbosity, poor sentence structure, information overload, etc. Now we can see one by one in brief. First one, confusing languages. It's a very common usage when we are looking at written communication. A number of words we are used or technical jargons we are used to make it as a show off. As a result, what will happen? Readers cannot understand the real meaning of the letters, and it may cause communication breakdown, or it is acting as a barrier in between writer and the reader. So, what we have to bear in mind is, while we are preparing a written communication, we have to use simple languages to understand or to convey what we are intended to communicate with others. It's a very, very good method to make our written communication be effective. So first one, that is, you avoid technical jargons or confusing words. We try to use simple languages to understand the real meaning of the messages. That is a good quality of a writing competency. The next one, verbosity. Verbosity means using too many words in same sentences. In several circulars or teasers or letters, we have seen that same words are used in the number of words are used in the same sentences. So it may leads to the misunderstanding of the sentences, or it may leads to the interruption of the reader's point of view. So it is suggested to use simple or single words in a sentences, or complete words in a sentences, to understand the real meaning of the messages. And the next one, that is poor sentence structure. From the term itself, it is very clear. While we are preparing a writing, we have to make a sentence in a proper structure. So very simple sentences we can prepare to convey our messages. One more thing that we have to bear in mind, that is sentences should be logically arranged. Then only a sequential order can be followed by the reader. Long or complicated sentences can be difficult to read and understand. So word order is an important element of this writing competency. And the next one, that is information overload. As we know that information overload is very difficult when it is a letter, or when it is a discussion, or when it is a class, or whatever means we are used to communicate. So information overload means we don't use a lengthy letter to convey our messages to the reader or end user. So it may leads to leaders confused. So we are also confused, frustrations and doubts in writing credibility. Therefore, a writer must decide what sorts of information is required in order to produce a clear, concise and relevant work. So we have to bear in mind all these elements, then we can improve our writing competency. Okay. Now we can see what are the advantages of written communication and disadvantages or limitations of written communication. First, we can see what are the advantages or importance of written communication. First one, it's a permanent record. As we have discussed, written communication is permanent record. It can be refer forever. It's there in black and white. It is very useful for future or further references. The next one, authoritative documents. We are discussed written communication is a legal document. It can be produced in front of any audience or any authority. So it's an authoritative document that can be produced as an evidence in front of any audience. So it is also known as authoritative document. The next one, accuracy. Written document is more accurate than any other communication. Only because of that can be easily challenged. Written communication is usually formulated with due care. Only because of it is for it is there forever. That's why we are giving with due. We are prepared this written communication by giving due care. So written communication is much so accurate than any other communication. Then it is precise in nature also. The next one that is legal document. As we are discussed, it's a legal document. When we are prepare a written communication, it is always in black and white. It is there. It can be produced as a legal evidence in front of legal authority or any other body as and when required. The next, it is very useful for long distance communications. As we know, we want to communicate with the detailed information with a person or an individual living in America or some other parts of the world. We can use this written communication is an efficient method of communication. It is a very suitable method of communication for a long distance communication. The next one is the understanding. That means suppose we are using oral communication, it is very there is a very what we say that there is a lot of probability to misunderstand, whereas we are using written communication, the receiver gets the opportunity to read the messages again and again till he properly understand it. So there is a very good advantages of this written communication. He can refer, he can read, and he can think again and again till he can or he properly understand the matter. So it's a very good advantages of written communication. Suppose we are using oral communications, the receiver cannot request for its repetition. It may lead to a lot of problems. So it's another important advantages of written communication. The next one, that is delegation of authority. It is written communications is easier to assign responsibility and to delegate the authority among employees through written communication. From written messages, the employees can better understand their span of activities. It's a very good advantages of written communication. Another one is that is suitable for long messages. Usually we are using written communication for presenting or for communicating college union activities on college day. We are using these annual reports. So always and magazines, research reports, or all these reports, long messages can be communicated through this written report. So we can say that written communication is a very good media for communicating long messages. Then next, that is less possibility of distortion or loss of information. There is a less possibility of loss of information. In oral communication, the receiver may lose some parts or points at the time of speech. Whereas in the case of we are using written communication, the probability of loss of information, the possibility of loss of information is very less. Okay. The next one, that is develop confidence. Written communication that helps to develop confidence in the minds of people, because it is permanent in nature, and it is this confidence raises morale and motivates people to work hard. Okay. Then the last one, that is goodwill and image building. A good written communication can create goodwill and promote business. How it is? We can see an example. Suppose we are producing a CV, curriculum vitae, to an authority for an interview. That CV itself creates some image about the people coming for interview. Okay, in such a way that a good correspondence or a good letter or a good written communication, that itself create some image regarding the person behind the letter. We know, suppose a students coming to the department with a letter. The letter itself creates some image regarding the subject matter and about the students. Okay, so these are all the important advantages of written communication. Now we can see number of limitations of written communication. Written communication is not free from limitations. So we can see what are the limitations of written communication. First one, it's time consuming. It's very easily understood. Composing or preparing messages in writing take much time and effort. So it's a time consuming. The next one, that is expensive. We know that suppose we are preparing messages through WhatsApp or email or some other soft media or e-media. It is very cheaper nowadays. Nowadays we are it is very cheaper than written communication. In such a sense, written communication, preparation of written communication is very easy and it is economical in nature. Suppose we are preparing an e-magazine. It's very easy to prepare only because of we are using these social medias or electronic gadgets in a popular manner. So it is very difficult to prepare a hard copy of magazines as far as students are concerned. Okay, now it is expensive. The next one, no secrecy. In written communication cannot maintain strict secrecy which would have been possible in oral communication, only because of suppose we are communicate a message with other through oral communication. Completion of oral communication, that's over. Communication is over. Suppose we are using written communication, it's an evidence, it is a legal document, it's a document forever. It can be refer for further reference or again and again. So in such a way, no secrecy is there in written communication. The next one, that is no instant feedback. Suppose written communication has any scope for immediate clarification if not understand properly. Suppose we are using WhatsApp messages. It's very easy. We can ensure the easiest feedback or immediate feedback from the respondent. Suppose we are using written communication or a postal card. It will take its own time to get feedback from the respondent. The next one, that is less flexibility in written communication. That is written in nature is less flexible only because of it cannot be changed easily. Suppose we are changing the words or structure or paragraph or something, it creates a lot of difficulty. Okay, no way to delete what we are written in black and white or in paper. Okay, the next one, that is lacks personal touch. Suppose we are using letter. Suppose we are using dismiss letter or suspension letter or a notice or a circulars. There is a lack of personal touch. There is no emotion in written communication. Hence, it is difficult to persuade or motivate through letters. Suppose we are using oral communication or eye contact or body language or gestures or these means of communications, we can motivate the students sitting in front of us. Suppose we are using some PDF format for learning. It never motivates the students as itself. Okay, this is another important limitation of written communication. Then the last important written communication, that is unsuitable for illiterate people. As we know that illiterate people cannot understand black and white communication or written communication. There is no need of explain much more all these things. It's very easy to understand. Okay, now we can conclude today's video here. All of you go through the next. Let us expect next video coming soon. So that's regards email and advantages, etc. So thank you to all.